team, welcome back to the Parafed Huddle podcast. It's Becca again. Today we have Lee on the podcast. He's from Spinal Support, which is the offices that sit next to us here at Paraffin Auckland. And we talk about some really deep stuff. It was really surprising. Me and him were giggling afterwards, saying how it was kind of a awesome conversation, but came out of nowhere. So I hope you guys really enjoy it today. And just in case you didn't know, but we are now on Spotify. So you can listen to all of our episodes on the Spotify podcast. So I will put the link in the description below so you can check it out for yourself. Enjoy the episode and I'll see you next week. So do you want to dig into your journey and where you kind of come from and how you landed in Spinal Support as kind of one of the staff there?
Yeah, right from the start.
Wherever kind of you think makes effect.
Probably the start. It doesn't really explain if I don't know how I got here. So I broke my neck when I was 13. I dived into a pool. Yeah, I dived into a pool, smacked my head, and broke my C4. And so when I was there, I thought I had pulled like a muscle because I never pulled a muscle. It was still fresh, and so I thought I pulled my back muscle. I was like, I pulled my back or something because I can't move. And then I got to the top and they were like, what's happened? I was like, I can't move. I can talk, but I can't breathe and can't move my arms. And they're like, oh. But that was 2 minutes after I was sitting in the water.
Oh,
so,
my.
3 minutes, 2 minutes, it was ages.
Yeah.
So they lifted me, my cousins lifted me out of the water, put me on the side of the pool and realised I couldn't feel anything. And then I went straight to hospital. Got all the feeding tubes down. Got 4 screws in my head. And I was awake listening to each screw go in.
Oh.
And it was just, it was nasty. But didn't really know what I was in for. I thought it would be like just a couple months and I'd be all good. And then didn't realise I was getting put to sleep. Woke up 2 weeks later in a hospital with all these tubes in me, a breathing tube down my throat. And then I was told I was coming here because this is where you go when you break your neck. Funnily enough, I only grew up down the road. Didn't know about it. They're like, you're going back to Otara. I was like, oh, I'm going home. No, you're going back to a spinal unit.
Just down the road, yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah, you go into the spinal unit. That's where you go when you have your injuries. And it's like, there's no such thing.
Yeah.
But found out, yeah, there is. And I was here for, from beginning of 2008, actually, just right at the beginning, to May, I think. And I was here for 5-6 months.
Yeah.
After I left here, went back to high school, did all that, high school, uni, but I was always here. So I always used the gym, scabbed the internet, it's free. And then, I just never left. But while I was here, I found it helpful for me to have conversations with people that were here. So they're always 50, 40-year-olds. That's always the age group that are here. But it was easier to connect with them than it was my friends. Yeah. And so having the community here for me was helpful. Yeah. And I was always here, like I said, always here. And there was a time, I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that they were looking to employ a peer support person. So the role wasn't around. We had, before the peer support role was here, I was just a buddy. So whenever there was a young guy, I'll get the phone call. Come in, let's meet this guy. Yeah. He may or may not like you, but if he does, then he can talk to you. Yeah. And luckily, most of them like me. And from then, they just said, hey, why don't you work here? If you would like the role, come join us and get paid. Yeah, that's how it worked out.
Like, you grew up pretty much in the spinal unit from like when you were a young teen and all the way through to your adulthood as well. So it's always felt quite homely, I guess, in a sense. And so what is the role of spinal support? Is it to make that kind of environment as well for, as you said, like younger people that you get to coordinate with?
Yeah, the main role is to, in a way, is to do that. It's to support them, but also make them prepared. When you leave here, you don't really know what you're getting into. Yeah. I remember when I was here, I didn't know what to ask because I didn't know what to expect. So people would be like, do you have questions? It's like, I probably do, but I have no idea what. So our role here is to paint that picture a bit more clearly. People don't realise how hard life really is when they leave. Yeah. When you get home, there's a crap load of things no one has any idea about, but if you have a conversation with myself and Sally, we are the only peer supporters here, we can paint the picture.
Yeah.
So people don't really realise that their roles as a parent or as a grandfather, auntie, uncle has changed.
Yeah.
What they could do is what they can't do anymore, and how big of an issue it is. Mm-hmm. People don't really feel that it's people don't feel like it's okay to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
A lot of them try to really save face and keep their emotions in check, but we really encourage them not to. Mm-hmm. It's sort of going against the grain half the time.
Yeah.
But if you don't really let it out and realize you're allowed to be angry and frustrated, then what is it going to do in the long run?
Yeah.
And so that's why we're here, is make that sort of switch from having to be too independent to really realizing it's just the cards you've been dealt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just what we do now.
Do you think it's a very Kiwi thing that, like kind of packing down the emotions and, she'll be right kind of vibe?
Yeah, she'll be right, such a massive thing, eh? I think everyone does have that sort of attitude on the... Yeah, everyone does carry that attitude. Mm. Some of them crack, and when I catch them, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's like, good.
Yeah.
People are like, oh,
feel it.
It's okay. Yeah. Are you sure it's okay? It's like, yeah, you're allowed to cry. Are you sure? Are you sure? Like, of course, just cry.
Yeah.
But people try hold it in, and I do tell them, even though you may be like the top dog in your family and you're the man of the house, it doesn't mean you can't be hurt.
Yeah.
Everyone does follow that, I'll be fine, I'm okay. I got to do it for my family. It's like, sure, it doesn't mean you're not doing it, but it doesn't mean you should say no to how you feel. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people come through here and they don't really click.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why we love our role. But the thing is, people don't really know. Mm-hmm. And I tell everybody, whether they're young, old, white, black, yellow, skinny, fat, rich or poor, you can end up in a chair. It doesn't discriminate.
Humans,
And it doesn't discriminate who, it doesn't matter what car you drive, you can still end up here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you do, you could end up having a random accident. People coming in from sneezing, falling off a bike, tripping over, waking up just without their legs working.
Yeah.
It happens. And people don't really think it's going to be them. It's never on your plan. Your plan for your life is to work and just, have babies, make a home, make a family and have a great life, but no one really anticipates a spinal cord injury.
Yeah.
And when they do, they don't know how to act.
How do you kind of re-sculpt that vision of what your life is supposed to be when suddenly you have this speed bump that you, as you said, you never anticipate, but as you said, like, you've got to feel these things, move through these things, experience these things, and then how do you get over that kind of understanding, and how do you sculpt that new life?
I do find that
it's a huge, sorry.
That's like asking how do you kill cancer? Damn. That's like it's not really straightforward. I don't think any one way is the right way either. Everyone's got a different journey.
Yeah.
I know, a young woman would have a different way of refinding their life or remaking their life than an older man. Mm-hmm. The thing is, the thing that we do tell people is follow what you like to do.
Yeah.
Now that you've had this this big change happen and you almost died, why not do what you want to do? Because if tomorrow you were not here, what would you want to be doing?
Yeah.
Too often people come in here and they've almost dropped and kicked the bucket before they got here. And so I always try to make sure people know, you've almost died. Why don't you make sure you've got the rest of the time that you've been given and use it. Mm-hmm. Use it for what you want. If you can pay the bills by doing that, then great.
Yeah.
If you can't, then find some way to be impactful.
Yeah.
Not everyone will not everyone lives up to that call, but people decide in the end. But that's finding their own way or sculpting their own life. Everyone's different, eh? People find purpose in the injuries, some people don't. Mm-hmm. People find life is better. I have heard people that came here through self-harm finding a great way out of it, or finding the answer to what made them end up wanting to hurt themselves in the first place was.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you hear a lot of amazing things, but everybody's path is different.
Yeah.
I think everybody's path is very different.
That's the thing. Like, I don't know if everyone listening will kind of know the situation, but so Spinal Support is in the Auckland Spinal unit. The unit is behind us as well, and then so Parafed Auckland, we sit in the office next door. And I mean, I think that our staff and your staff as well are so lucky to hear all of these stories of where everyone's been and the experiences they've had, and like the conversation I'm having with you about your experience and everything. I think the stories are so inspiring and so incredible as well.
Yeah, well, this is the place though. Here you'll get people finding hope or finding some way around possibly the shittest thing they've ever been through.
Yeah.
And if there's an environment that'll breed and harbour faith and possibility, it's here.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you see everyone coming in and having those conversations or making those steps to making some difference in their life. It's all here. Yeah. So I think that's the privilege that we have in this space though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely, myself and Sally, we feel very privileged to be on this role. Because we're hearing such hard stuff, and people being vulnerable and opening up to us, it's not a normal place to be in. So we're lucky to be here.
Yeah.
And we definitely get to see it. Yeah. Now, officers being in this location, it's the difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also Parafed can give that pathway for people to go, into certain areas with their sport. We can do that in terms of just their lifestyle or their support networks. Yeah. We all have a role to play.
Absolutely. And I think it's, as you said, I think it was great advice that you mentioned before of just like follow the things that you enjoyed before you came and joined the unit, and like we provide the sporting opportunity, but I've seen so many things of like some artistic stuff going on and some like more creative stuff that's not so sportsy and things like that. So there's definitely, I think it's great the opportunity that you guys provide of trying to like find those different passions and things like that, you know?
Yeah, and definitely. I think there's a lot to be learnt. I mean, everyone's got something or learned something that could help someone else,
Yeah.
And all of us, none of us are as smart as all of us, so if we can all share and actually build that community, then it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Whether it's, just being there to listen or being there to give advice, everyone's got a role to play. But we all help out in finding that answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what do you think your biggest learning was? You mentioned before, like coming out of the spinal unit and suddenly you realise all of these things that weren't mentioned before. What do you think your biggest shock or learning curve was initially?
Oh, I had heaps. I had heaps. I think, oh gosh, there's actually a lot. I noticed because I had my birthday, I turned 14 while I was here. Oh. And so, 14. 14 in hospital. But I think the biggest thing for me was how your surroundings really create who you are, or your surroundings, how much they influence you. When I was here, I had grown up a lot. I had a lot of men around me, literally men. And all they did was talk about, their families, their roles as a father, their house, their work, their mortgage. Yeah. I left thinking like that. When I got to school, boys are always thinking about like their card games or basketball, or who their favourite basketball player was or rugby player. And being out of that environment was different because I was boarding at the time. I was at a boarding school, and we lived together. We were all brothers, and coming out of that and ended up boarding here. It was totally different. So having different surroundings is really what can dictate where you go. Not only that, but the people I kept around me. Yeah. So my circle of influences, they really helped where my head went. Yeah. In terms of my mentality, but also in terms of the maturity that I had. Yeah, so I was very lucky to get those insights, and also finding out how little I had and how little I could do. I sort of noticed that no one really expected anything of me, which was great, because that's when I was like, okay, I can stuff up and still people don't expect.
Yeah, there's no pressure.
Yeah, there's no pressure at all. So I just went for gold for everything. Since then, haven't stopped.
Hell yeah. I think so many people put a lot of pressure on themselves thinking that somebody else is going to care or be bothered if they don't succeed. So that mentality is such a gem to have.
Yeah, it is. It's freeing. You get that space where you're just like, okay, cool. But you have that time to just look at yourself and be like, okay, if I did want to do something and no one was really expecting anything of me, what would it be?
Yeah. What's something that almost a pet peeve, but not that negative, but something like in New Zealand, what's something that grinds your gears as somebody with a spinal cord injury, do you think?
Oh, there we go.
This is a whole new episode.
So, number one, one of 25. I think one of the big things is, I wouldn't say lack of support, because we're starting to get up there, but I think in terms of sort of that social aspect, but also what is it? The thrill-seeking aspect. Because we're in New Zealand, we're a country where we don't sit. That's something that I find hard. Is we've got all this. We're in a beautiful country. Everything's quite rugged. You can't do it anymore.
Earthy.
That's a and it's a pet peeve. Like I used to be I was a water rat, so I loved water. It's not the same anymore, and like you can't just casually go for a walk up a mountain or go for a walk anywhere. I think for me that's a pet peeve, just in terms of my disability in New Zealand. But it's because our country is beautiful. I want to see it more. However, you do find ways around it, whether it be gliding or getting some other help to get to certain spaces. But, those are things that do frustrate me. In terms of community access, we've got a lot of issues there. Auckland's good to get around in the main heart of Auckland. You get further out of Auckland, you can't just casually catch a train or a bus to it.
Yeah, I see.
But we're still quite relatively young compared to other countries. Like I've been in other places around the world, and they're all connected because they're booming metropolises, and come back here and just like little town Auckland compared to them. Auckland's the spot. No, Auckland's a little town compared to them. But,
and as he says, it's so young too. Young.
Access is so different, but our country is doing the best with what we have, and we're very lucky to have the systems that we have in place and all the organisations there to help us. It's been, for me, I do find it's gradually growing. But there's always going to be problems in a perfect society anyway.
Is there something because that discussion was kind of on quite a big scale, quite a big vision and things. Is there something on a personal level that somebody who doesn't know anybody with a spinal cord injury wouldn't understand on that kind of like one-to-one setting?
Yeah. Oh, there's another one.
And episode number 3.
I reckon, because honestly, you can go to town on that one.
Yeah.
I do think if people don't know anyone with a spinal cord injury, or or someone in their life ended up having a spinal cord injury, the things that I think there's always that push on awareness. People don't know how to approach someone that's had a spinal cord injury. And some people I know of, or even myself, I've had friends that don't know how to approach me with this. But people are people. That's the thing people forget. We're all people, and you may not know what to say, or say, "Oh, are you okay?" or "How does it feel?" Like people don't know if that's too sensitive or not. But people are people. At the end of the day, you just treat them the same with respect, and if they do bite back, people are either just hurt about their situation. Like how are you doing? Nice to meet you. Or can you feel this? Or what happened to you?
Yeah.
Those are the questions that people don't know they don't know if they should ask or if it's insensitive.
Yeah.
So those, I think definitely people, if they meet someone, just remember they're a real person, they just can't walk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, it's always, I find with children are innocent and they'll ask anything.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah.
Everyone should be innocent, just ask.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be rude about it, just be like, okay, nice to meet you, and people always do that inspirational sort of talk, like, oh, you'll do great, just work harder, like you work harder, get stronger, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. I had one guy try to say, he said to me, I had a broken shoulder and it's healed because I worked hard. You broke your neck, you can heal if you work hard.
And you're like,
oh, thanks, mate. You didn't know what you're saying, but I know what you meant.
I appreciate the effort.
Yeah. I know you sounded like a clown, but you said it with love.
And I think that's like what you mentioned before, but also like the people you deal with, both the people you deal with is different either way, So some people will respond differently, some people will respond the same, and it's case by case. And as you said, it's just people being people, like act. Yeah, and that's something that I've definitely learned, like being a coach and only being in the coaching or being in the disability world in the last like 2 years or so. And it's just these things that you pick up that you're like, you just kind of not manage, but you respond to people as they respond to you, and vice versa as well,
Yeah.
Same.
Exactly.
So if you were gonna, we'll start to kind of tone it down. But if you were gonna talk to either a younger self or somebody that was or is in a similar situation that you were in, would there be something that you'd kind of tell them, like a piece of advice or a message to a younger self?
I've got plenty.
Yeah. Episode number 4.
Honestly, got plenty. There's so many things I could have said, but I guess the main thing is take your time.
Yeah.
Take your time, but don't waste your time. Mm-hmm. That's something that, you like I said, if you've almost died, you may as well make the opportunity you got before you actually die.
Yeah.
Whether it is doing something you want to do or making the difference you want to make. Mm-hmm. And also I believe that everyone's made for a purpose.
Yeah.
Some people are screwdrivers, some people are spanners, some people are drills, depending on what they're used for. But everyone has a space or the tool bit that they suit.
Yeah.
And that whether it be mentoring, artists, sportsmen, or just people that that are just there, that can talk to people about certain things, or parents. They could be a parent. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But everyone's made with the purpose, and there's something that everyone does belong to, or they fit a mold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely believe that.
That's great. There's been some we've dug into a lot in the last half an hour or so. You guys are only going to see 15 minutes of what we've actually talked about. But we'll close it there, because that was, as I said, some really great messages, some really great moments, and some great understanding for wider community and everyone that kind of does touch base with the podcast. But thank you for hanging out in the sun and just chilling. We took advantage of the
so
sun.
Hard. Oh.
We were going to do it in the office, and then it was like, no, we got to get out in the sun. Look at the sky. It's so good.
Hopefully it's the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But you guys have a great weekend, although you'll see this on a Tuesday, so have a great rest of your week as well. And we will see you next episode. Thank you, Lee. Thanks for coming by and swing by the office. And as I said, see you guys next week.